Earlier, I did my first character analysis for Nick All Star Brawl. I went over April O'Neil, showing all of the hidden depth that character has hiding. There's a lot to her, and if you're curious, you should check that video out. However, April wasn't the only character revealed for the game, as we also got the introduction of Catdog. Today, I'd like to talk about the Catdog trailer. In a lot of ways, I personally think that Catdog's trailer is the opposite of April's. A lot of people are expecting Catdog to be this insane character with a lot of crazy hidden mechanics. While this still could be the case, if they are, they're definitely more hidden. However, I still think there's a lot of neat stuff to talk about with this character, and we also see a larger chunk of the moveset compared to April. Without further ado, let's talk about it. It's easy to see how perplexing Catdog's kit is. You see, the very nature of a double-sided character is inherently a mix-up machine. If you're not paying close attention, it's hard to tell when they're facing forward and when they're facing backwards. To show this off, we see two of Catdog's most ambiguous moves at the very beginning of the trailer. The shot starts with Dog on the left and Cat on the right. They then jump and use what looks like up air. In this move, Dog flips upwards and beefs up, growing massive. The move doesn't connect, but it seems to be a strong attack with high end lag. What makes this move crazy is there's a near instant side switch at the start of the move, putting Dog on the right. This then stays in place after the move, potentially surprising your opponent which side is in front to the player. Nigel then punishes this move with a large clap of some kind, possibly an up tilt. However, right before they hit the ground, Catdog uses some sort of special move. This swings them around and does a powerful attack on both sides. This is yet another side switch, further confusing the opponent as to who's in the lead. We see this move again later in the trailer, where we get a better grasp of its power. It has a blue hit effect, which seems to imply it's not a kill move, as those traditionally have large red effects. However, it seems to combo into up strong, where Dog grows big and delivers a powerful uppercut. This shows the red hit effect I was talking about before and does massive damage, but only activates on Dog. Currently, Dog is in front though, so would this move hit behind if Dog wasn't in the lead, or would Cat do something else? Now, this leads us to the debate if Catdog is a stance character or not, and after thorough analysis, my guess is maybe? I'll tell you, I'm very baffled as there's conflicting evidence. We see a second move that looks like an up strong happen while Cat is in the lead. There is a chance that these are the same input, but change based on who's in front. However, the moves could basically function the same, as their frame data is very similar. In terms of appearance, Dog's looks much bigger, but we can't determine the actual range or damage of the move to see if anything changed. However, this would seem to imply there's some sort of benefit to switching stance if the moves were different, right? I'd think that too, but the other instances of seeing the characters in different positions aren't so promising, sadly. A move that looks very much like forward strong is seen later, being an overhead swing with a fire hydrant. However, we see both Cat and Dog perform this move with nearly the same animation. This proves that at the very least, not all of their moves are different. Lastly, Cat and Dog switch places a lot. Not only does the game switch the lead up for up air and the spin move, but it also swaps them around during what seems to be a neutral air. We see this move during a combo against Danny, and it seems to be a very important neutral tool for them, as it's fast, large, and starts combos very well. It'd be a bit strange for such an important tool to constantly switch up the user's moveset, but it isn't impossible. Overall though, I think it's likely that if there are differences based on which character is in the lead, they will be minute, and will not mess up the player too much if they fail to react to who's on front. Overall, if the stance makes any difference at all in the kit, I think it will ultimately be minimal, other than confusing the opponent in terms of which way you're actually facing. But, aside from the question of how Catdog's lead swap works, what do the rest of the moves do? One interesting move that could give an indication of a new mechanic is this move, where Catdog scrunches up in the air and then headbutts outwards. Now, it's entirely possible this is just a gimmicky forward air due to the nature of the character, but I think that the hit effect and the similarities to the Nair indicate this might be an air strong. As far as I know, we haven't seen any yet, but this was a mechanic I personally really liked from Slap City, and I hope it's back. Having at least one smash attack usable in the air is a big deal, and I hope this is an indication it's returning. Even if it isn't, this move is going to be devastating, with huge horizontal range. It's likely vulnerable from above or below, but it'll still be a solid air-to-air attack. Now, we have the move that makes me sad. Cat grabs Dog and starts shaking him around. At first, I thought this was going to be some sort of stance that let you do the pummel attack, but also followed up into other things, such as an attack we'll talk about later. However, this move just seems to be jab upon further inspection. You can see them reset back to idle in between the two hits, so it's a pretty ordinary move. However, this clip isn't a total loss, as we get a look at a staple platform fighter trick, jab locks. A jab lock involves using jab or flinching move on an opponent while they are still on the ground. This disables their get-up options and forces them to perform a slow get-up, which tends to lead to true setups. That's exactly what we see here, with Lincoln getting hit right after he hits the ground, which makes him unable to avoid the hydrant. This is going to be a huge part of competitive play, so it's something to think about. Next, we have what looks to be a dash attack or running special of some kind. However, we don't really see much of this move at all. It seems to be an attack where the secondary head attacks while the primary one runs, but the move gets stopped by Lucy's coffin. Strangely, Michelangelo takes knockback from the coffin move, but Catdog doesn't? This could be a weird property of Lucy, but it's also possible that this move has a strange property we aren't seeing, like some armor. Another odd move is this bone projectile we see Dog use. It seems like a fairly standard projectile, arcing and sending a good distance out. One weird thing about this move is that Dog instantly turns around to do it. This implies the move is either forward special or some kind of B reverse, where the attack is changed during startup. I'm honestly not sure which, as the B reverse seems too fast, but I'd assume other moves are forward special. There's also a hairball hiding in the background of another clip, but again, we don't really see the context of this move to be able to determine if it's any different. The last two moves Catdog has are both only shown once in the last clip. First is this moving cartoon dust cloud where Cat and Dog duke it out, reflecting projectiles and hurting anyone caught in the crossfire. I do want to bring up something about this reflecting Michelangelo's pizza, as this could be a universal mechanic. After all, we've seen a lot of reflectors recently, so it could just be that all projectiles can be hit around. Other than that, it seems like this is a very good move, as it's ridiculously active and has pretty low commitment. If I were to guess, this is probably a down tilt. Oddly enough, this move doesn't switch Cat and Dog, which feels kinda weird considering how many other moves do. The final move we see in the trailer yet again brings into question the existence of stances. It's a strong headbutt move that also looks suspiciously like a dash attack. However, there was another move that looked like a dash attack earlier in the trailer, except that Cat was in the lead. There's a chance that this is another move affected by who the leader is, but I'm not certain. The move from before with Cat seemed to tank a hit from Lucy's coffin, which seems a little crazy for a normal on a character like this. It's entirely possible that it is how it works, but only time will tell. Regardless, this headbutt seems to be a very good move in its own right. With what information we have, Catdog looks like a very interesting spacing and mix-up character. Large keep-away normals with hitboxes on both sides, the ability to disorient some opponents, and some very solid kill moves. This character is going to be a nightmare to fight without learning the matchup. Before I go, there's one final side note I'd like to address, because everyone, myself included, were really excited about a certain clip. In the clip where we see Cat's upstrong attack, Lincoln is seen in his Ace Savvy outfit. This made a lot of people hopeful that this confirmed alternate costumes. Unfortunately, Ace Savvy is a part of Lincoln's up special, it seems, as when he's hit, the costume goes away. It's a shame, but there's always a chance for more stuff like that in the future. Overall, in a lot of ways, Catdog's trailer is the opposite of April's. With April's, we could get a good confirmation of how her gimmick works, but a lot of her normals remained a mystery. Catdog, on the other hand, give us a really good grasp of how their normals function, but the character's main gimmick seems to elude us. I hope you enjoyed my analysis. If you'd like to see more cool trailers for a different game, I'd love if you stopped by Workshop 2 Prints on September 18th and 19th. It's a huge passion project of mine, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. With all that said, that's all I have for today. What do you think of Catdog? Do you plan on playing them? Let me know in the comments. Until next time.